Good morning, and welcome back to America's Leaders from Coast to Coast, the 250th Anniversary Edition. Today is day 51 of the year, Friday, February 20th, 2026. I'm Stephen Copley.
And I'm Leah.
We are heading to the absolute center of the universe today, Manhattan. We are looking at New York's 12th Congressional District, which covers the Upper West Side, the Upper East Side, and Midtown. It is one of the wealthiest, most highly educated, and most influential districts in the entire country. And today we are profiling its representative, a man whose name is practically synonymous with New York politics. We are talking about Democrat Jerry Nadler.
Stephen, this is such a monumental profile because we're looking at the end of an absolute political dynasty. Jerry Nadler has been representing Manhattan in the U.S. House since 1992. Before that, he spent 15 years in the New York State Assembly. He has been making laws for half a century. But late last year, in September 2025, he made a historic announcement. He will not seek re-election in 2026. He is retiring at the end of this Congress. He said it is time for generational change in the Democratic Party. So right now, we are watching the final term of the Lion of the West Side.
And he is definitely not going quietly into retirement. He is spending his final months in Washington fighting some of the most intense battles of his entire career. Let's look at how his power shifted in the 119th Congress. For years, Nadler was the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. He famously led the Trump impeachments during the 45th presidency. But in January 2025, he passed that torch to Jamie Raskin. Instead, Nadler took over as the ranking member of the Judiciary Subcommittee on Antitrust and Regulatory Reform. He decided to focus his final act on fighting corporate monopolies, specifically algorithmic price fixing in the rental housing market.
But his biggest, most explosive fight right now is with the Department of Homeland Security and ICE. And this got incredibly personal for him. In May of 2025, DHS officers showed up at Nadler's district office in New York City. They accused his staff of harboring protesters, and a DHS agent actually detained and handcuffed one of Nadler's aides right there in the office. They didn't even have a warrant. Nadler was absolutely furious. He demanded a congressional investigation and immediately joined the push to impeach DHS Secretary Kristi Noem.
And he carried that fury right into the budget negotiations just a few weeks ago. In early February 2026, the House voted on the massive fiscal year 2026 government funding package. Most Democrats voted for it because it kept the government open, but Jerry Nadler voted no. He released a blistering statement saying he could not, in good conscience, give a blank check to ICE. He cited the fact that ICE was violating court orders and terrorizing immigrant communities in New York, and he completely refused to fund them for one more day.
He has been a brick wall against the new administration's agenda since day one. In July 2025, President Trump signed the massive Big Ugly Bill into law. Nadler fought it tooth and nail. He pointed out that the bill instituted the first ever national work requirements for Medicaid and expanded work requirements for SNAP food assistance. Nadler argued that these policies would rip healthcare and food away from hundreds of thousands of vulnerable New Yorkers just to pay for tax cuts for billionaires.
He is also deeply focused on combating hate. NY-12 has a massive Jewish population, and Nadler is one of the most prominent Jewish lawmakers in the country. Following a horrific international attack late last year, Nadler teamed up with other progressives to introduce the Anti-Semitism Response and Prevention Act. He also sent a letter to Secretary Noem just last month, demanding that the nonprofit security grant program, which protects synagogues and mosques from violence, not be politicized by the administration.
And we cannot talk about Jerry Nadler without talking about infrastructure. He sits on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and he has spent decades trying to fix the transit nightmare that is the Hudson River crossing. And he finally did it. He secured $6.8 billion to dig the new Gateway Program passenger rail tunnels between New York and New Jersey. That is a $16 billion project that will fundamentally save the Northeast Corridor economy. He also secured full, lifetime funding for the World Trade Center Health Program, guaranteeing that 9/11 first responders and survivors will never have to worry about their medical care being cut off.
He really is an institutional powerhouse. He knows every inch of the federal code, and he knows exactly how to pull the levers of power for New York City. And his retirement has set off an absolute political earthquake back home. The Democratic primary to replace him this June is going to be one of the most expensive, crowded, and vicious races in the country.
Because whoever wins that primary basically gets a seat in Congress for life. NY12 is a D+34 district, but they are going to have massive shoes to fill.
The legal scholar who anchored the West Side for 3 decades.
The relentless defender of civil liberties and New York transit.
That is Representative Jerry Nadler. That is our profile for New York's 12th district. Stay tuned for our next profile. Please note, AI assists in the creation of this podcast from pointedwords.com, and remember, better pointed words than pointed swords.